There's a knife in my neck, not a metaphor. An actual knife, blade deep in the side of my throat, and the blood is hot and fast, and I can feel it going everywhere. The man who put it there is already walking away, pulling it out with the kind of casual twist that says this isn't his first time. I'm on my knees in the dirt, hands pressed to my own neck, and the world is going gray at the edges, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is how Enkrid dies. And then I wake up, morning light, straw roof. The sound of soldiers coughing outside a tent that smells like cheap wool and old boots. My hands fly to my neck and there's nothing there, just skin. Just pulse, just me breathing too fast in a cot that definitely isn't where I died. What the hell, I was dead, I felt it. And now I'm here, and my squad is already arguing, and someone is throwing a boot at someone else, and I'm sitting in the dark, trying to figure out if I lost my mind or if something considerably worse just happened to me. This is chapter 1 of my life as a man who dies every single day. Let me back up, because you need to understand who I am before you understand what this means. My name is Enkrid. I'm 30 years old. I'm a squad leader in the 444th Unit, which our commanding officers call the Madman Unit, and not as a compliment, and I have been trying to become a knight for my entire adult life. Not a soldier, not a mercenary, a knight. The kind with a title, a technique, a reason to be respected. The problem? I have zero talent, none. The sword feels wrong in my hands. My mana sensitivity is a joke. Every instructor I ever had told me to quit and find a job in a village somewhere, and some of them were actually kind about it. I didn't quit. I just trained harder and died slower and got promoted once by accident. And now, apparently, I die for real, and then I come back. I don't understand it yet, not that first morning. I sit in the cot for a long time, running my hands over my throat, pressing on the place where the knife went in, and there's nothing there. Clean skin. And I think, okay, maybe it was a dream, a very specific, very real dream where I could smell my own blood. Sure, that makes sense. I get up. I do my morning drills. I eat the terrible camp food. I go about my day. And then, around mid-afternoon on the edge of the border camp where the 444th is stationed, a man steps out of the brush and I recognize him immediately, and my heart drops straight into my boots. It's the same guy, the same build, the same way he holds the knife low and easy, same casual walk. And this time I know what's coming, and I try to dodge, and I'm not fast enough, and the blade finds my neck again with the same horrible precision, same twist on the way out, same gray at the edges, same nothing. And then morning light, straw roof, boots hitting someone across the tent. Oh no, I put my hand to my neck, nothing, and I start to understand. This is the third morning I describe it to myself out loud, standing alone behind the cook tent, just trying to make the logic work. I die. I wake up. The same day starts. No one remembers yesterday, because for them there was no yesterday, there was only today, and then today again for me like a sick joke. The 444th eats their breakfast. My squad argues about who took whose boot. The border is quiet in the morning and louder by afternoon. And somewhere in the brush, there is a man with a knife, and he is going to kill me, and then I am going to wake up and do it again. This is my curse. Wait, no. Let me think about this differently. What if it isn't a curse? Because here's the thing about dying the same way over and over. The first time I died, I didn't even see the knife coming. The 5th time, I saw the approach but couldn't move fast enough. The 15th time, I moved, and the knife still found me, but it found my shoulder instead of my neck. And I lived another 30 seconds before he finished the job. And somewhere in the middle of that realization, between death 20 and death 30, I stopped thinking about the curse and started thinking about the lesson. He's better than me. Fine, I'll die until I figure out why. Big mistake to think it would be that simple. It's not. It's really, really not. Let me tell you about the squad I've been handed, because they matter more than I knew at the time. I thought they were a problem. I was wrong. Rem is the first one I notice because Rem is impossible not to notice. He's a Wing Tribe warrior from the Western Territories. Big and rough and loud in the way that's not about volume, it's about presence. Like there's always slightly too much of him for whatever room he's standing in. He carries 2 axes and uses them like extensions of his arms. He has a technique called the Heart of the Beast, which his tribe passed down through generations. And what it does is this. It quiets the part of your brain that panics when something big swings at your head. The part that flinches. The Heart of the Beast kills that flinch, and what's left is just clear sight and fast hands. I watch him spar on one of my loop days, really watch him instead of going through the motions, and I see it. The way he doesn't blink when the other soldier's blade comes fast. The way his eyes stay completely open and completely calm, right up to the point where he's already countering. I want that. I want that so badly I die 16 more times just building the courage to ask him to teach me. He says no. Of course he says no. Are you kidding me? Why would this man, who has approximately zero reason to respect me, agree to teach me a secret technique that belongs to his tribe? He laughs at me. Not mean, exactly, but not kind either. Just flat, like the question was funny, and I say, okay, fine, then spar with me. He looks at me for a long moment, and then he shrugs, and he picks up one axe, and he puts me on the ground in about 4 seconds. Should have seen that coming, but I get up, and I ask again, and the next loop I get up faster, and the loop after that, I get hit slightly less fast. I don't know if Rem notices, but I notice. Every death, every reset, I come back with the memory of what went wrong, and the only thing I can do with that information is not waste it. Ragna is the second squad member I actually study. He's northern-born, a swordsman, with that particular northerner way of handling a blade that prioritizes efficiency over flash, every movement cut down to exactly what's needed and nothing more. He has basically no sense of direction, which sounds like a joke except it isn't. It's just a fact about him that he doesn't seem bothered by, and it means someone has to point him toward the enemy every single morning. I start doing that small thing. He notices even if he doesn't say anything. And on one of the loops where I'm getting absolutely destroyed by the man with the knife again, Ragna watches from a distance, and his eyes track the fight in a way that tells me he's filing something away. Then there's Jaxon, and Jaxon is harder to read than the other two. He's the kind of fighter who operates in the negative space of a battle, the places where no one is looking. Assassin instincts built into a man who's technically a soldier, and he handles it by being very quiet and very still, and observing everything with eyes that don't miss much. He gives me a piece of advice once, half accidentally, about sound, about how you can feel an attack coming in your ears before your eyes process it if you learn to listen to right. I die about 20 times practicing that. Worth it. And then there's Audin. Audin is enormous and gentle and calls me mother with complete sincerity, which I cannot explain and which I have stopped trying to. He was a clergyman once, still is in his heart, just unaffiliated with any institution, because apparently something happened there that I don't know about yet. What he's good at is the body. Not fighting exactly, but the building of it. The isolation method, he calls it. Training that takes the body to the absolute edge of what it can do, then past that edge, then a little further. It sounds like torture because it kind of is, but he offers it freely, and on one of my reset days when I'm feeling particularly desperate about the knife and neck situation, I say yes. I regret it immediately. My legs stop working on day 2. Great, just great. But here's what happens after enough of that. I wake up on loop day, I've lost count, and go through the morning and I feel different. Heavier. Sturdier. Like there's more of me pushing back against the world than there used to be. And when I get to the moment I know is coming, when the man steps out of the brush with his knife held low and easy, I move differently too. Not fast enough yet, but differently. And he notices. That was the moment I first thought I might actually win this. I do not win it yet. Let me be clear about that. I die many more times before we get there. The man in the brush is what I eventually learned to call my first wall. That's the framework I build in my head for understanding the loop, because I need a framework or I'll lose my mind completely. Every wall is a fighter or a situation that exceeds my current ability, and the loop chains me to that day until I find a way through. This man, the stabbing swordsman, as I come to think of him, is precise and patient and has clearly trained his single technique to a terrifying level of mastery. He stabs fast, correct, and final. And for 124 deaths, he kills me. 124. Holy hell. I count eventually. I count because counting makes it feel like progress even when everything hurts. Death 40. I learned Jackson's sound trick and dodged the first thrust for the first time. Death 60. I made him take 3 steps to reach me. Death 90. I drew blood first. My hands shake after that one, not from pain, but from the feeling of being so close. And I wake up the next morning, and I'm not even frustrated anymore. I'm hungry. Death 124. I'm standing in the brush, and the stabbing swordsman is already moving, and I can hear it the way Jaxon taught me. The soft shift of weight before the strike, and my feet are already moving because Audin's isolation method built legs that actually respond when I tell them to, and I've got the heart of the beast half learned, just enough of it to keep my eyes open when the blade gets close, and I see the angle of the thrust, and I don't dodge. I step into it. I let the blade miss by a hair's width, I feel it graze my neck and it does not go in, and I bring my sword up, and I put everything left in my body into one strike. He goes down. I stand there. The forest is quiet. My whole body is shaking, and there's a thin line of blood on the side of my neck, and I'm not dead, and the first wall is dead instead. And I don't scream, I don't freeze, I just stand there breathing until the shaking stops, and then I walk back to camp. And the next morning I wake up, and the day is different. The stabbing swordsman isn't there. A new day. A real new day. I made it. Wait, no. I spoke too soon. The new day is fine for about 3 hours. Then an assassin I've never seen before walks into the medical tent where a wounded soldier named Krang is recovering, and I'm close enough to see it happen, and everything goes very wrong, very fast. This is my second wall, and it's smarter than the first one. The assassin from the now Lilia Infirmary, as I'll eventually think of her, is nothing like the stabbing swordsman. She doesn't have one perfect technique, she has a dozen, and she adapts. And she uses the environment in ways that tell me she spent weeks planning this. She knows the layout of the medical tent. She knows which guards rotate when. She knows about Krang, which means someone gave her information, which means this isn't just an assassination. It's part of something bigger that I don't understand yet. The first time she kills me, I don't even understand how she did it. The second time, I'm watching more carefully, and I see the knife she uses isn't in her hand, it's tucked against her forearm, and the move that ends me is so fast that even knowing it's coming, I can barely track it. What the hell? I go back to Jaxon. I go back to Audin's isolation work. I go back to sparring with Rem, who by now has watched me get better loop by loop without understanding why, and has started actually teaching me instead of just hitting me. The heart of the beast isn't half learned anymore. It's maybe 3/4 learned, which is not the same as mastered, but it's enough to keep my eyes open when things are moving fast. The second wall takes 33 deaths. That's fewer than the first. I'll take it. What breaks her is sound again, Jaxon's lesson coming back in a clutch situation, combined with a move I copied from the stabbing swordsman of all things, the precise single thrust built for speed over power, and the fact that Audin's body training finally gave me the arm strength to push through her guard when she tried to redirect me. She goes for the forearm knife, and I'm already inside her reach, and I put her down, and I carry her unconscious out of the medical tent before she bleeds on Krang, and then I burn the tent because that's the only clean way to deal with the evidence. And my commanding officer Krang and the Cyprus Division commander both look at me with the same expression, the one that says they don't know what to make of me. Good. I'm not sure what to make of me either. Because here's something strange about dying every day for months. The squad starts to notice something about me even though they can't explain it. Rem starts to notice first because Rem is more perceptive than he looks, which is deeply unfair given how he looks. He watches me spar one morning and his eyes narrow and he says quietly that my footwork has changed. Not better necessarily, just different, like someone who's fought the same fight many times. I say I've just been practicing. He gives me a look that says he doesn't buy that completely, but he files it away. Ragna notices next, but Ragna doesn't say anything because Ragna almost never says anything. He just starts positioning himself slightly closer to me during drills, which for Ragna is basically a declaration of kinship. Jaxon watches me from across the courtyard one afternoon with those quiet, calculating eyes, and then he hands me a piece of bread from his ration without explanation. I take it. That's probably all the acknowledgement I'm going to get from him, and honestly, fair enough. And Audin. Audin calls me mother and proceeds to make my mornings a special kind of painful with increasingly elaborate isolation training. And he does it with the expression of someone doing important holy work, and I don't know whether to be grateful or terrified. Both. Mostly. The thing is, I don't tell any of them about the loop. I try once, early on in a reset day when I'm feeling reckless, I tell Rem about it plainly. The loop, the dying, the waking up. He looks at me for a long moment and then says I should get some sleep and maybe eat more. Yeah. Okay. After that, I stop trying to explain it and I just use the information. But the squad starts to feel like something real. Not just bodies assigned to a post. Something else. The border conflicts that form the backdrop of the 4/4's daily life become useful to me in a way they probably shouldn't be. Each skirmish, each patrol, each minor raid from whatever hostile force is pushing at Naulilia's borders that week becomes another training session for me, one where the consequences are real and the feedback is immediate and fatal. I die in group engagements. I learn about flanking from getting flanked. I learn about shield formations from being crushed by one. I learn about cavalry from being run down by some very fast and very angry horses, which it turns out is an extremely educational experience if you survive it often enough. The squad survives more because of me, I think. Not because I'm dramatically better, but because I keep showing up with slightly more information than yesterday, pointing out the angle an attack will come from, suggesting a position shift before the enemy commits to it. Rem thinks I have some kind of instinct. Ragna just follows the suggestion without question because it keeps working. Jaxon watches me do it 3 times and then starts making the adjustments himself before I even say anything, which is honestly the most unsettling form of respect I've ever received. There's a promotion exam somewhere in the middle of all this. The border guard platoon commander, a man named Torres, decides to evaluate me by challenging me to a duel, which is just his way of doing things. Apparently, Torres is the kind of officer who respects fighters and is not particularly patient with anyone who hasn't earned the right to be in front of him. He tells me to tell him when I'm ready. I say, "Come at me." He does. And I'm ready in a way I genuinely couldn't have been before the loop, because no amount of standard training puts the same lessons in your body that dying does. I don't beat Torres, let me be honest about that, but I make him work, and that's enough. And the look he gives me afterward is the look of a man recalibrating. I pass the exam. The Cyprus division is watching too. Notes get taken. But then something happens that makes the exam feel small. The second wall is cleared, and the days start moving forward. And then around chapter 30, in the new forward-moving timeline, there's a moment that I am not prepared for. Rem is in danger. Not training danger, not sparring danger, real danger. The kind that comes from outside the camp, from a source I haven't dealt with yet. And it arrives fast and hard, and Rem's heart of the beast keeps him alive, but only barely. And I'm running across the camp, and for the first time in a long time, I feel the old fear, the one from before the loop, the one that says I'm not enough. But I am something now. More than before. 157 deaths more than before. I get there. Rem is bleeding from his arm and from his side, and he's still standing because of course he is. He's Rem. But his axes are down, and the enemy has numbers, and I come in hot and angry, and everything Audin built in my legs carries me forward. And everything Rem taught me about the heart of the beast keeps my eyes open when I probably should have flinched. And Jaxon appears from a direction no one was watching because that's just what Jaxon does. And Ragna puts himself between Rem and a spear with the clean efficiency of someone who has already decided the math. We come out of it. Barely. Audin prays over Rem afterward with the calm of a man who has seen worse, and Rem tells him to shut up, and Audin keeps praying, and that's sort of how things go with us now. Something happened in the loop that I carry alone, but it shaped me into someone these 4 lunatics will stand next to in a fight. I don't know if that counts as family. I think it might. There's a moment somewhere in chapters 30 to 33 where the Cyprus division commander, after reviewing what happened with the assassin, what happened at the border skirmish, what happened with the duel against Torres, looks at the record of a man who has no documented talent and no measurable gift, and has somehow survived and succeeded at every obstacle placed in front of him, and she makes a decision. The promotion goes through, not squad leader anymore. Something with more responsibility, more reach, more expectation. Independent platoon leader, reporting to Nalilia's 4th company. I stand there when I hear it, and I think about all the times I died just to get to this sentence. No talent. That's what they all said. That's what the instructors said. That's what the senior knight said. That's what everyone who looked at me with my average body and my average mana sensitivity and my completely average everything decided. No talent. Give up. Find a village somewhere. 157 deaths later, and I'm a platoon leader. Not a knight yet, but closer than I've ever been. Closer than anyone who knew me would believe. The squad is loud about it in the way the Madman unit is loud about everything, meaning Rem announces it by throwing a cup at someone in celebration. Ragna nods once, Jaxon says nothing but appears slightly less likely to stab someone than usual, and Audin calls me mother and cries a little, which no one comments on because we are all accustomed to Audin at this point. I should feel satisfied, I do feel satisfied, but I also know the loop taught me something that comfort can't undo, which is that there is always a next wall. Always something bigger, faster, more precise than the last obstacle. The stabbing swordsman took 124 deaths to beat. The infirmary assassin took 33. They're not getting easier, I'm just getting better faster. And somewhere beyond chapter 35, there is a 3rd wall waiting for me. and I don't know what shape it'll take yet. I should be scared. I'm not. I'm interested. That's what the loop did to me that I didn't expect. It took the fear of dying and ground it down until what was left was just hunger. Not for safety, not for the absence of the knife. Just hunger for the next lesson, the next wall, the next morning I wake up with a slightly sharper version of the technique I died learning yesterday. I have a squad of lunatics who fight like the world is ending and eat bad camp food and point Ragna toward the enemy every morning, and a curse that means I wake up after every failure with the memory of exactly what went wrong. This is not a comfortable life. It is, however, mine. And if the next wall comes for me tonight, and it probably will, and it probably comes harder than anything that came before it, good. I'll die until I figure it out. The camp goes quiet as night falls, and Rem is sharpening an axe in the dark, and Ragna is asleep sitting up, and Jaxon has vanished to wherever Jaxon goes, and Audin is murmuring something that might be a prayer or might be a plan for tomorrow's training, and I'm sitting on the edge of the camp looking out at the border and thinking that somewhere out there in the next chapter of this, something is already looking back, and then I hear it, not with my ears. Not exactly. The way Jaxon taught me in the soft layer under sound, in the shift of weight and attention that precedes movement. There's someone out there. Not the stabbing swordsman, not the infirmary assassin. Both of those are done. Someone new. Someone I haven't died to yet. Wait. What? The leaves at the edge of camp shift, and a shape steps out of the dark, and I can feel it before I see it clearly. The weight of something with a completely different skill ceiling than anything I've faced before. Not a thug. Not a precise assassin. Not a wall designed to test one specific skill. Something wider. Something that moves like it has been a weapon for much longer than I've been alive, and it's looking straight at me, and I've got my sword half drawn, and my heart doing something complicated in my chest, and the squad is asleep, and this is either the third wall or something considerably worse. I have no idea which. And I'm not going to find out tonight, because it stops just at the edge of the lamplight, and it looks at me with the kind of patience that says it has all the time in the world. I tighten my grip on my sword. I think, die if you have to. Come back smarter, and then it smiles.